Alright, so let's go through these. We're going to simplify each exponential expression, alright? This is all zeros and negative exponents. So the first one, it's 13 raised to the 0 power, and remember from our notes, anything raised to the 0 power is going to equal 1. So that's pretty simple, right? We have 5 raised to negative 3. So remember, let's think of it as like a fraction over 1, right? We said that 5 negative 3, right? This negative goes with this 5, so we can't have that. We're going to put that on the bottom. So we're going to have 1 on top, 5 raised to the 3rd. Alright? To simplify that one more time, that's going to be 5 raised to the 3rd is 125. Alright? So we have here 3 divided by 3, negative 4. So we have 3 divided by 3, negative 4. Negative 4 goes with this bottom 3, right? So this right here. We can't have this negative on the bottom, so we're going to put it on top, right? This, leave it as that, so we have 3. Since we put that on top, now we have multiplied by 3 raised to the 4th. Alright? So let's simplify this even more. 3 times 3 raised to the 4th is 81. And then 3 times 81, right? This multiplied together is 243. And that's your answer. So again, this is a fraction right here. 3 on top is positive, so leave it alone. That's why we just have 3. We have 3 raised to the negative 4. This is negative on the bottom, so we're just going to put it on top where 3 is already, and then simplify. Same case here. We have 2 on top. This is a positive 1, right? So we don't do anything. We have divided by 4 raised to the negative 1. So this is on the bottom. So in order to make this negative 1 positive, we got to put it on top with the 2. So it's like 2 or 4 to the positive 1, right? 2 times 4 raised to the 1. So we put it up there, it turns positive. Let's simplify this even more. 4 to the 1 is just 4. 2 times 4 is 8. Alright? Alright, so here this is kind of tricky. Notice that it's negative and then parentheses negative 2. So negative 2 only affects the positive 7, not the negative. So let's do this. Let's do negative 1 times 7 raised to the negative half. Let's just take it apart. Alright, two separate things. This one has a positive exponent as in 1, which they don't really write, so we don't need to touch this one, leave this one. However, this one, this is a negative 2, right? So we need to take that and put it on the bottom now. This was on top, now we're going to put it on the bottom. So we have negative 1 on top still. Don't touch it, leave that. We took this, we put it on the bottom, so it's 7 raised to the 2. So to simplify this, we have negative 1, 7 raised to the 2, as in 7 squared is 49. Alright? Next question, 46 raised to the negative 1. This right here, 46 raised to the negative 1 is the same thing as 46 raised to the negative 1 over 1, right? But again, we don't really write that because anything divided by 1 is just itself. So we just write that. Here, we have 46 raised to the negative 1. This whole thing is negative. In order to make it positive, we got to put it on the bottom, right? So that means there's 1 on top as a placeholder. 46 to the negative power, we put it on the bottom, so it's 46 raised to the 1, which is the same thing as just 1 over 46. Sorry, that's not that. 1 over 46. Alright? So, here, same thing as kind of like this one right here. This negative is on the outside, so worry about this negative later. We have negative, right? 11x raised to the 0. This whole thing raised to the 0. Anything raised to the 0 is going to be 1, right? So this whole thing is going to equal negative 1. Alright, simple as that. Anything raised to the 0 power only is going to be 1. So this one's a little trickier. We have 8 raised to the negative 2, q raised to the positive 3, r raised to the negative 5. Alright, so let's just put this all over 1 just to make it look like a fraction because we have negative exponents, right? Since we have negative exponents, we know that this one needs to go and this one needs to go, right? In order to make this negative 2 positive, we're just going to take that and put that on the bottom. since this is a positive 3, leave it. R raised to the negative 5, since this is a negative 5, we're going to take this whole thing and put it to the bottom. So the only thing I told you to leave was the q to the third, so let's leave that there, right? We said put this to the bottom, so it's 8 raised to the 2, and then put this one on the bottom, r raised to the 5. If I were to simplify this one more time, it's q3, 8 squared is 64, r to the 5th. Alright? Hopefully you guys are getting this. If not, press rewind or go back and look at those examples again. So these are a little bit harder. Alright? So here we're going to evaluate each exponential functions for r equals negative 3 and s equals 5. So we're going to simplify this first and then plug in these guys. Alright? So first, to simplify this, we have 3 times r all over s to the negative 2. So again, negative 2, we can't have this guy here. It's on the bottom, we gotta put it onto the top, right? This one right here, leave it. It's already positive, don't do anything, don't touch it, leave it, that's R3. Sorry, 3R, R3, same thing. Here, we took this, we put it on top, so now it's gonna be on the same side or same place as the 3R, and that's gonna be s to the second, alright? Once you put it onto the top, it becomes a positive. It was on the bottom, negative, put it back on top, becomes positive. So we have this. All we're going to do is plug in this and this. We have 3 times negative 3, and I'm going to put that in big brackets. Big bracket 5 squared. Alright, so this is negative 9, 25, and that's going to give you negative 2, 2, 5. Alright? So the next one, we have r raised to the 0, s negative 2. Alright, so let's do this. Just because we have a negative, we're going to put everything over 1. Just make it look like a fraction, right? R raised to the 0 is just 1, right? This right here, that just becomes 1. This s raised to the negative 2, since it's on top, it's negative, you got to put it on the bottom. So we have s squared. Alright, this is our simplified form. Once we do that, we're going to plug in 5. So we have 5 squared, and that gives us 1 over 25. Alright, on this side, we have 2 raised to the negative 4, r raised to the 3, s raised to the negative 2. Alright, so kind of like this one right here on G. Right? We put this all over 1 and we put the negatives on the bottom because it was already on top. Just like that, we're going to put all of this over 1. 2 raised to the negative 4. That's got to go, right? R to the positive 3, leave it. Alright, I'm going to put leave. S raised to the negative 2, that's also got to go. So to make this positive, we got to put that on the bottom, right? It was on top, now you got to put on the bottom. To make this positive, since it was on top, we got to put it on the bottom. So the one that we left on top was R3. Bottom, we put 2. Now that negative 4 becomes a positive 4. All right, I'm just going to put parentheses. S negative 2, that negative 2 becomes a positive 2. All right, so now we got to plug in these numbers. We have parentheses negative 3 cubed all over 2 raised to the 4th is 16. All right, I'm just going to simplify that. S is 5 right here, right? So we have 5 squared. And let me move this down a little bit more. So we have 5 squared. This top part, in your calculator, remember it's negative, parentheses negative 3, parentheses cubed. As in, if you were to write that, it would look like this, that caret, and then that, all right? That's going to equal negative 27. So the top part is negative 27. 16 times 25. And let's simplify that one more time. And that becomes 400. Alright? So that's your answer. So again, if you guys didn't understand it, I went over all of these. Go back, rewind, pause, write it down, do whatever you can to understand this. Alright?